Okay, the final thing that I want to cover in this afternoon session on Office 365 and OneNote is actually looking at OneNote. So this is just meant to be a brief overview of what OneNote is. There is an application for OneNote, so if you just push your little Windows key and start typing OneNote, you'll see there's a desktop application for OneNote. And OneNote is Microsoft's solution to notebooks, and so the way that it's meant to be set up, you can see down the bottom here that my notebooks are all open, and so I've got a notebook or a number of notebooks. You can see these are my notebooks, and then each notebook is divided into a number of sections, so they're meant to simulate the tabs that you would normally have, or the chapters that you would normally have in a notebook. And if you go to the sections, then you can see that the sections are made up of pages. Now OneNote is what's meant to be an infinite canvas, or it's not meant to be structured in pages, so we're not looking at a word processor here that's structuring things in A4 pages. You'll see that I can create a page. So if I just use here my content library and I'm just going to create a new blank page, you'll see that when I get my canvas or my page that I can write on, it has the option of writing a title, introduction, and too many to use, introduction, and you'll see my page is then named. And then in order to put things onto my notebook, I simply click where I want them. So you can see that I can click and type anywhere. And so what you can also do is drag and drop pictures into this notebook or sketch in the notebook. So if I grab my drawing tab across the top here, you'll see I can choose my pen, and then I'm able to select that I'm going to draw with my finger because I haven't got my my stylus here at the moment, but I can then simply draw a diagram, which is not going to look very pretty with my finger. I can do some simple labeling there, or some simple arrows and things there, and then once I've done that, I can grab my mouse and I can go back to the text and I can just click. Oh, sorry, it's still drawing. Let's go back to my text. I can just click and I can click and type within those drawings and label everything there. And you can see that once I've actually created something, I can pick it up and move it around. So my text becomes very fluid and my planning becomes very fluid. And now OneNote can also be used by teachers. You can see here I've got an option for a class notebook, and just like Google Classroom is able to share documents out to students, this is Microsoft's solution to the same type of problem. So for my notebook here, you can see it's broken up, as I said, into a number of sections. We've got a collaboration space, and because this is a shared notebook, all of my class is able to access that collaboration space and add sections and pages to that area together. The content library here is designed just for a teacher, so the teacher can put the content in, but then the student can only view that content, and so that means that you can use this as an area where you could put handouts or put content like textbooks that the students are just going to read. Then I've got my teacher only section here where I can put content but the students don't have access to it, and down the bottom here you can see that all of my students also have a notebook, and so they're able to see their individual notebook, but they're not able to see each other's notebook. So each student only has access to just their own notes, but the teacher has access to everything. And if I open up one of those student sections, you can see that I've also put sections into that notebook, meaning that I'm able to organize and structure the content I'm giving to the kids in something they're more familiar with. So rather than being a social organization thing like Google Classroom, this is a much more structured way of being able to organize content. So I can have a section for each topic and then put notes into that topic. So as a teacher, as I said, I've got my teacher section here. So if I jump to the section that I've got here on multimedia, let's actually give this one a title. So I'll call it, I'm having a terrible time typing, multimedia intro. And once I've named that page, you'll see up here that I can go to the Class Notebook tab, and because that's selected, I can distribute that page to all of the students and say which topic it's going to go into. So all of my students have a multimedia section because I set the notebook up so they would all have that. And I would like to put a copy of this multimedia intro document into all of the student notebooks. So to do that, I'd select the multimedia intro document, say distribute new section, distribute page, and then you'll see over here on the right hand side it's going to load in the structure of the students' sections. And so then I simply choose the section that I want to put that copy into, push the distribute button, and all of the students are now going to get a copy of that multimedia systems document that I've created earlier. And so that way it's very similar to Google Classroom when you're publishing an assignment out, but you're able to see how it's able to be structured in a much more structured traditional way rather than in the social way. And you can see I've now got the ticker box saying the page is distributed successfully. So if I go to Danny's folder, multimedia is where I said to put it, and I'm going to have to resync it, aren't I? So let's jump back to my notebook, right click there and say I want to sync to get the copies that I pushed out to everyone. Then that multimedia document, once it finishes syncing back to my machine, is going to be there sitting in Danny's folder for me to be able to view. You can see up the top here while that syncing is taking place, there it is, it's now appeared in Danny's folder there. Across the top here I'm able to also review student work. So as you give documents out to the students, you can also say that you want to review that work, and if I push the review student work button, you'll see that I can sign in, because it's not signed in at the moment. And when the students actually do work within that document, then what I can do is I can pull those documents back and have a look at the work that's actually been done by each individual student. So now I'm signing into OneNote over here on the right hand side. Then I can choose the page I want to check, the multimedia intro page, and you'll see there's all of my students, and I'm able to click on that individual student and see each of their individual work. And you'll see on the left hand side here that as I choose a different student, it's actually switching to that student's work. Now they haven't done any work in this document at the moment because I just distributed it all to them, but that would be how you would then be able to review all of that work as well. So there's a very quick intro to what the class notebook is able to do. Now I'm going to very quickly show you how to actually create one. So in order to create one, you actually need to go to the Office 365 website. So that's office.com. Once you're at office.com, you'll see over here one of the icons we have access to is a class notebook. And when we press that class notebook icon, it loads in the setup for it. You can see that my options are I can create, I can add students to my classes, I can add other teachers to my notebook as well, and then I can manage existing notebooks. So if I wanted to manage my IPT notebook and change a section or modify the way it's structured, then I'd do that in there. Let's just go to create a class notebook. When you create a class notebook, you first of all have to give it a name. So let's say that this is my IST class. Then it's saying, okay, what are we going to put inside of that notebook? So it's got a collaboration space, which is where the teacher can edit and students can edit. It's got the content library where the teacher can edit but the student can only view, and then it's got a student notebook for each of the students. Let's go next. Then we can add extra teachers if we want to. I'm just going to stick with just me as the teacher. You'll see it's running down the left hand side a series of checkboxes. Now we can add some students. So I don't actually want to go through with this, but let's add let's add Sharon Hall, my sister-in-law, and then go next. And then you decide what sections you're actually going to have. Now, as I said, I set mine up with the topics that my students are doing. It's Microsoft has given us these 4 sections by default. If you would like to create your own, you simply untick those ones there, say you want to add some more, and enter in the topics that you would like to do. So let's say that we're going to do robotics and software coding, and we'll just stick with 2 private spaces or 2 sections for each student. Say next, and now it's going to show us what we've got. So this is the structure of the teacher. You can see I've only got 1 student available to me, so I've got the collaboration space, the content library, and 1 student. And if I jump to the student's notebook, then it will show me that Sharon is going to get the collaboration space, the content library, and her space with those 2 topics set up there. If I say create, then what that would do is actually send that off and give the option to Sharon of accepting my invitation and coming into the notebook. Now we're going to have a go at doing that together. We'll just create a class notebook for those of us in our group.